Hello everybody, welcome back to Tempest Books. I'm Rebecca. Today is a bit of a different sort of monster book. See, we didn't find this monster, we didn't stumble on it in a cave, it didn't come from outer space. Today, we made a monster. So today we are looking at a book called Ancestor by Sigler. This book for me vacillated kind of between a 3.5 to a 4, leaning more towards the 4 stars, but I'm actually having a bit of trouble figuring this one out, just how I feel about it really. Overall, it wasn't a reasonable monster book. It was, it was fairly good. There was some really, really dense science in the first half. There was some kick and Google that shit science. There was a band of characters that were reasonably easy to follow. They were diverse, they were different to each other. They had their own unique roles and their own unique personalities and backgrounds. There wasn't, just a blending of a bunch of characters that you kind of forget the names of and who's who. The plot twists were a fairly even sort of split between a bit predictable and quite surprising. And while it's not too clear at first who exactly we're going to be following, we do end up sort of resolving into one fairly main character that we follow, and with frequent sort of looks into other characters' minds, what they're doing and what is going on from their perspective, although it all remains in third person. The first part of the book was a little bit confusing. I did have to do a bit of Googling because I actually wasn't sure 100% that this was definitely a book one. I thought that there may have actually been a connecting series or a connecting universe that was a part of the world that I had missed or something. So I actually had to stop and Google that like twice just to make sure, because there was quite a bit of name and event dropping that made me seriously think I was missing something. But after a couple of Google searches, I established that no, this was a standalone book. But you have to kind of get through the fact that they're suddenly dumping quite a lot of you onto you in the first couple of chapters. Now, this book is based around the idea of xenotransplantation. So that is when you are taking living tissues, so organs or organ parts, from a donor animal and putting them in a different species animal. So in medical science today, we do this. For instance, organs or organ parts from animals like cows, pigs and horses are put in humans, whether it be a heart valve replacement that is permanent or as a temporary measure to keep someone alive while they wait on an actual transplant list for a human organ. Now, the reason that this book came about is because of one of the risks inherent in xenotransplantation. So the idea of taking tissue from one species to another species is risky in that whatever that original species had in them, bacteria, viruses, other nasties, is transplanted with the tissue that is going into the other species. And generally that simply means that whatever came with it is going to die. But it can also mean that you make the host organism quite sick, or you could kill them. Or whatever comes from the donor organism and goes into the host system goes, oh no, I like this is actually really good, and now it's going to help me change. And, the idea that perhaps that change could be a very bad change and allow a virus, for example, to gain the ability to spread to the same other members of the species that recipient animal was, in this case humans. So at the very beginning of the book, we get a really good look at just what happens when this risk is taken and it doesn't work out. We quickly see an entire laboratory compromised because of the inherent risks in xenotransplantation. So the company behind and that is paying the main character has decided that to thwart this particular issue and, really corner the market on xenotransplantation, they'll build their animal from their DNA up, because if they can do that, then they control everything that's in the animal, and there is no risk of transferring nasties with the organ. But when what you've made is a lot more interested in eating you than coughing up its organs for someone else, then you've got a problem. So the team we follow spends a lot of time building this perfect donor animal. And when I say a lot of time, I mean I was getting really, really far into this book going, are we ever going to see a monster? I mean, we spent a lot of time building the monster. We spent a lot of time watching the team in their ups and downs, their, the successes, the failures, but we haven't seen a monster yet. But I didn't mind as much once we got to the monster, because it was worth a bit of the wait, but it's still a lot of book to get through before you get to the action. And so if that isn't for you, if that kind of, that almost monster slow burn isn't for you, you may have trouble with this book. So alongside the scientific ups and downs and successes and failures, we also see the ups and downs of the people in the team. So when they do things right, when they do things wrong, the consequences and their interactions with each other. Now, I did really like this book. I did find it fairly easy to immerse myself in the story, and I enjoyed the potential that the ending of the book left. So I was like really open for, oh cool, we could have another book. The main issue I had with the story was just how long it actually took to get to the monsters. And a few times in the pacing where it was like really, really slogging along, not much was happening, but we were still in the constant keeping an eye on the characters. But, you know, it was kind of boring, not much was going on. And then all of a sudden the pacing would leap forward and you're like, wait, we've missed a day, or did we miss a week? Seems like we missed a lot of time, and now all of a sudden everything's happening. I do still feel like we didn't get enough monster time, but it was a kind of reasonably-ish balanced with being a part of the creation process. So you don't often be, you know, a part of the science behind an engineered monster, so it was nice to be able to be a part of that. It gave a perspective of the book that I hadn't considered we would be a part of, and I did enjoy it. Some of the interactions with the characters left me a little puzzled. They were inconsistent at times, and I wasn't really sure how the dynamic was working, because there was always tension between certain characters, but then all of a sudden it was gone. I was like, hang on, you turfed all these years of hate and now it's all good? Okay, you say so. And then it was also a case of, hang on, that guy did that and he copped one in the conkers, but that guy did the same thing and it's okay? Okay, if you say so. But I did love the author's ability to really give a character growth, really give them potential and map a future out for them, and then go smoosh, smush, 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 smush by my character. I appreciated the ability to do that. That was actually really well done. So yes, this was a 4-star-ish book for me, Ancestor by Scott Sigler. I've put a couple of his other books, you know, on my wish list because they do sound quite interesting. The premise sounds really good. And overall, I liked this book more than the frustrations that popped up at times. So I'm probably leaning towards, you know, a 4-star book. And I would suggest it if you don't mind the really dense science in the beginning, some of the densest I have ever read, and the kind of slow pace for the first more than half of it, then it's a book that you'll like. If any of those things are not something you are really going to gel with, then probably give it a miss. But I will keep hold of it. I may even reread it in the future. So that's it for this one. All right, guys. Thank you for hanging with me. Thank you for looking at this book. Have you read it? Let me know, and I'll see you next time.